Welcome again. Welcome back, everybody. We are continuing on the history of the Seventh day Adventist Church, the history of Seventh day Adventists. And we are continuing under the Millerite roots. And now we are going to look at the caption, The Great Disappointment. The Great Disappointment. Remember, in our previous study, we said that William Miller and Joshua Himes, as well as Fitch, they thought that Christ would have come October 22, 1844. So we are going to find out now, if did Christ really come and why did not Christ come. So we are going to look at the reading The Great Disappointment from this book again, The History of Seventh-day Adventists. The History of Seventh-day Adventists. And so we're going to get right into it before time run away from us. It says, The Great Disappointment. On October 22, tens of thousands of believers lingered in expectation of the appearance of Jesus in the clouds, while countless others waited in doubt, fearing that the Millerites might be correct. But the day came and went, thus encouraging the scoffers and fearful, but leaving the Millerites in total disarray and discouragement. Their specific claims about the time and their unbounded confidence in, in the October 22 date served to heighten their disappointment. On October 24, Josiah Litch wrote to Miller, "It is a cloudy and dark day here. The sheep are scattered, and the Lord has not come yet." Hiram Edson later penned, "Our fondest hopes and expectations were blasted, and such a spirit of weeping came over us as I never experienced before. It seemed that the loss of all earthly friends could have been no comparison. We wept and wept till the day dawned." And that's from Hiram Edson. And Washington Morse mused, "That day came and passed, and the darkness of another night closed in upon the world. But with that darkness came a pang of disappointment to the Advent believers that can find a parallel only in the sorrow of the disciples after the crucifixion of their Lord. The passing of the time was a bitter disappointment. True believers had given up all for Christ and had shared his presence as never before. The love of Jesus filled every soul, and with inexpressible desire they prayed, "Come, Lord Jesus, and come quickly." But he did not come. And now, to turn again to the cares, perplexities, and dangers of life, in full view of jeering and reviling unbelievers who scoffed as never before, was a terrible trial of faith and patience. When Elder Himes visited Waterbury a short time after the passing of the time and stated that the brethren should prepare for another cold winter, my feelings were almost uncontrollable. I left the place of meeting and wept like a child. We might expect Miller, as founder and titulant head of the movement, to be terribly shaken by the experience. On the surface, however, he maintained an upbeat public relations stance. "Although I have been twice disappointed," he stated on November 10, 1844, "I am not yet cast down or discouraged. God has, God has been with me in spirit and has comforted me. Although surrounded with enemies and scoffers, yet my mind is perfectly calm, and my hope in the coming of Christ is as strong as ever. I have done only what, after years of sober consideration, I felt to be my solemn duty. Brethren, hold fast. Let no man take your crown. I have fixed my mind upon another time, and here I mean to stand until God gives me more light." And that is what is important. We see here that Miller was disappointed, yes, but guess what? Miller decided to persevere. He decides that he's going to receive more light to find out, why did Jesus not come in November 10, 1844, and as well as October 22, 1844. So we are going to see further if Miller decided that he's going to find out why Jesus did not come. So he is going to search now for more light so that he could get better understanding of what took place. In spite of those reassuring words, the bulk of the Millerites probably gave up their second Advent faith. Meanwhile, those who continued to hope for the second coming of Christ saw their once fairly harmonious movement dissolve into chaos as different leaders and self appointed leaders put forth conflicting claims and counterclaims regarding the meaning of their experience and the truth about the second advent. Out of the seething cauldron and shapeless mass of discouragement and confusion would come the Seventh day Adventist Church. And I'm going to repeat, out of that seething cauldron and the shapeless mass of discouragement and confusion would come the Seventh day Adventist Church. But of course, no one could have predicted that development in 1844. That story will be the focus as we know it in our next two chapters. So we're going to see how the Seventh day Adventists came into being in these chapters, chapter 2 and chapter 3. And so we are going to pause here for you to come back again so that we can read more and listen as to how Seventh day Adventists came into being. So I'm not going to give you all of it tonight. I'm just going to leave that segment of it so that you can get on the edge of your seat and come back to hear the development of the Seventh day Adventist faith. So I want you to continue to subscribe to this channel. I want you to continue to share this message as well as to comment where necessary. So until then, we'll see you again as we continue in the Word. So let's discuss the Word and more. I'm out.